Hey, what's up guys, TotallyDubbed here, and today I'm gonna try and keep this short and brief, but this is gonna be a review of the Qnix QX2710. Now I kind of promised myself that I wouldn't do a review, but I thought that I'm reviewing other monitors based on subjective opinions and just based on user experience, and I've had this for about 4 months and I've been asked a couple of times on my unboxing video and my overview video, what do I think of it? It's been 4 months, you know, what's up? And I have to say it is going to be biased a little bit because I have purchased the item, but knowing me, I like to keep things as objective as possible. So I'm going to try and be objective as possible, but I must say straight off the bat, this is the best monitor I have ever seen. It is absolutely amazing. But in order to really try and keep it as objective as possible, I'm going to try and start off with the cons. Before going into the pros, which I think the list is quite high. So let's start off. Now first of all, the cost of this, it's not exactly cheap. It is £230. In the USA it might be a little bit cheaper because you don't have to pay import fees, but it's around £230. Now that is not expensive for what you're getting, but as far as monitors go, it can be slightly expensive because you might want to be only spending £100 on a monitor. This is going to be set you back about £200 to £230. So you should bear that in mind. I am saying that as loosely as I can because in all honesty, in the pros it's going to be, yes, it's an extremely cheap monitor for what you get, because for a monitor like this you're going to be paying about £500 from a brand that you can buy in the UK or in the US, like a big brand like BenQ or Iliama or Asus or whatever, all those big brands. It's about £400 to £500 easily, and more so they probably won't have the functions that this monitor has. But anyway, continuing with the cons. So one of that is to do with the price, and is very much linked also with the import fees. Now it depends where you live. Due to this monitor coming from South Korea directly, you're gonna have to pay import fees depending on where you live. Now in the UK I had to pay import fees. I was very lucky that my seller was quite understanding, and therefore I only had to pay £16 import fees, but I've heard of people paying up to £75 of import fees, which really drives the cost up of the monitor and therefore makes it a little less amazing value of a buy. Let's put it that way. So that's another thing. Import fees are a big thing. And again, linking that in, where it comes from. Now South Korea is not local, it's not in the European Union where most people might buy them from, or in the USA, and therefore returns are going to be very, very hard. Now despite eBay sellers offering 1-year return, they don't actually have to offer you more than 30 days or even 14 days, shall I say, as quoted by the eBay money back guarantee. They don't have to offer you 1 year at all. And their 1 year can be dubious, because I remember if I wanted to ship back a monitor like this back to South Korea, I might have to spend about £140 in shipping alone for the monitor to go back. And at that point you might say, well, why not buy a new monitor? So if you get defective model, or if you want to send it back for warranty purposes after a year or two, then you might be facing problems. On top of that, warranty. Some companies won't accept warranty. Now I bought this with US dollars, with a pound conversion, and when I called a company like SquareTrade, they rejected the warranty. They said, we won't give you extended warranty because you purchased it in US dollars, and as we operate in pounds, we don't accept that. So you should also bear that in mind. If you want extended warranties against accidental damage or anything like that, then it might not be possible. So that's another con that you have to bear in mind. Another thing is the actual inputs. Now this has a single DVI-D input. You cannot attach DVI-I, so therefore if you've got a very old computer or a really old laptop or something like that, it's not going to work. It doesn't have HDMI, which is pretty much the norm nowadays for graphics cards. It doesn't have DisplayPort. It doesn't have any other functionalities like that. So you're going to be a little bit limited. It also doesn't have speakers. Now I hate speakers on monitors as it is, but it doesn't have speakers and some people might want speakers. On top of that, it doesn't have an on-screen display. You know when you pop down the button over here and then you change the thing and it comes up with a little thing that you can change the brightness and everything like that? It doesn't have that. Literally the brightness control over here that you click is just, it gets brighter and dimmer and that's it. There is no functionalities of an on-screen display to see how much you're going from 0 to 100. There's nothing like that. So it's like 20 clicks or something like that from 0 to 100. So you have to work it out. Each one is about 5% or something like that. So that's another con. There's no on-screen display and there's no multiple inputs on top of that. So you have to bear that in mind. Another con, it doesn't have any scaling. Now scaling, you might wonder what is scaling? Well, scaling is simple. If I wanted to attach an Xbox 360 to this monitor, I could, in theory, by connecting HDMI to DVI. That is still a digital signal and it should in theory work. But unfortunately, because of the monitor not having scaling and it's a 1440p monitor, my Xbox 360 doesn't output 1440p, and therefore the Xbox 360 gives a no signal response on this monitor because the Xbox 360 cannot output a 1440p display. So therefore you're stuck on that respect. So you have to think about that as well. You're going to be using it, it's pretty much going to be just a PC monitor, nothing else. So bear that in mind again. So that is another con. And finally, I should probably mention is the actual build quality of the screen itself. The mount doesn't seem too bad at first, but after a while, now it's been 4 months that I've been using it, it's very weak. If I just tip it once, it just completely dips. And that's even after adjusting it. It's quite flimsy, as you can see. It kind of reminds me of my old LG screen. And you know, I want to buy a new a mount for that. So I mean, it might not be a problem, but again, that's going to be extra cost. If I want to buy a stand or something like that, it's going to be extra cost. So that's another con of this monitor. But now I think that is pretty much all the cons of the monitor, because apart from that, everything else is absolutely sublime. Now, obviously, the biggest thing that I've been trying to show you guys in the background whilst in this speaking in this review is the actual image quality. The image quality is absolutely brilliant. It is so good in every single aspect. Out the box, the color calibration is extremely good. It's not perfect, but it's extremely good. In order to counter that, I have got a color sustainer by Yasamoka, and essentially this gives me a color profile, which I have. I'll link that down in the description, a DevHost link, so you guys can download the color profile, and it changes the color. Now it's very hard to see on screen, but it changes the gamma, and that is essentially because I've overclocked the monitor, but also even without it being overclocked, I feel that the gamma shift is a little bit off, and this color profile is absolutely perfect for me. So the colors are really, really nice, and just with that little tweak in the gamma makes it perfect for me. I mean, honestly, I really pay attention to detail quite a lot in photos, in text, in gaming, and I can't stress enough how beautiful this is. Not only was it a step up from a 1080p monitor, but it's also just so good in colors, which sometimes is not found on IPS and PLS displays. Despite them being better than TN displays, you're still going to find some screens out there that are just not going to be as good looking, simply because the color reproduction is a little bit off. This is really on point. Now, another pro is the fact that it can be overclocked. I briefly mentioned that, and yes, it can be overclocked. It's very simple for NVIDIA user and actually very easy for AMD users as well. But via NVIDIA, for example, you go to NVIDIA control panel, you customize your resolution. I've already made a guide for this, so you better check that guide out because you need to do other stuff as well. but you can overclock, and it's very simple. On mine right now I've got 96 Hertz, and the maximum I can actually go to is 110 Hertz on this monitor. So that is absolutely insane, from 60 Hertz all the way up to 110 Hertz. And this is a big thing for gamers, because as a gamer I want to be gaming, I want my graphics card not to be bottlenecked by my monitor. And I'm playing at 144p with SLI 680s, and 96 Hz is the utmost I will really be hitting. Of course, I can hit about 150 to 200 FPS if I was on 1080p, but this is not the case. I'm using a 144p monitor for a reason, and it it struggles with my two graphics cards, which are absolutely insane in terms of power. Even a GTX Titan Black, which is ridiculously priced at like £700, even that struggles to go over 60 FPS, sorry, at a constant rate. Its average is about 60 to 70 FPS. With SLI 680s, we're looking at 70 to 80 FPS. Still nowhere near the 96 Hz or 110 Hz that you might want. But if you're going to be gaming at 1080p, boom, you have the extra Hertz to cope with the extra FPS your graphics card will be outputting, and therefore you'll have less tearing. So happy days. You don't have to use VSync or anything like that. So again, another big thing is the overclocking ability, and it doesn't, as far as I'm aware, hasn't damaged my screen in any way, hasn't caused any problems. It's been running so solidly, so silently on the background, and it's just so good to have. So overclocking abilities is a huge plus, because as I was stating before, you can get by 400 or 500 pound screens. Those ones might not even come with overclocking ability. In other words, they're stuck at 60 Hertz, and that is it. You might get to 70 Hertz at best, and that's it. But this, up to 120, 130 Hertz, some people have reported, in my case 110 Hertz. Insane and brilliant. So its overclocking ability is brilliant. I mentioned the price in the cons, I'm going to mention the price in the pros as well. £230 for a 144p monitor that runs at 96, or let's say 110 Hertz, or up to 120 Hertz or 130 Hertz, and it's got beautiful colors with a PLS panel and a great viewing angle. £230 is a steal. You're gonna absolutely look at other monitors out there, and you're gonna look at the price comparison. You're gonna be like, wow, this is really cheap. And yes, it is. The price to performance ratio is insane. It is really good, and it is the best money, price to performance monitor money can buy. Let's put it that way. If you want a 4K display, or if you want a 1080p display, sure, it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to have more competition or different price brackets. But as far as 144p goes, and as far as overclocking goes, this is an actually excellent buy. So it is really good. Another thing is the latency. Due to it actually having a con of not having multiple inputs, it's also a pro in the same respect, because you can buy this in a multiple input version. But the problem with that is that you get up to 20 millisecond delay in latency, and that comes with something very important for gamers, because the lower the latency, the more responsive your mouse movements are going to be on screen, and what you're going to see is what you get. So the lower the amount, better. It is an 8 millisecond latency, and that is absolutely brilliant. It's might not be perfect for pro MLG players and whatever, but I've reviewed 1 millisecond, 2 milliseconds, 5 millisecond and 8 millisecond displays, and to be honest, the difference was literally milliseconds, something that I hardly noticed when playing quite competitively on an FPS game, Battlefield 4, running high FPS. So some people might argue, yeah, you want a 1 millisecond display, sure, if you can really notice the difference, props to you, get that, but you're going to lose out on other stuff. But other than that, its response time is really good for its resolution and its overclocking ability. So that's another pro. Finally, I think its look. Now, I know I said the build quality isn't good, but its look is quite nice. It's not too shiny, it's not too cheap looking. It doesn't, you know, stand out like a white monitor or anything like that. It's nice, it looks good, and it, you know, it works. You know, the buttons are nice and, you know, small over here. There's nothing standing out, so its overall looks are quite nice, and I quite like how it blends in with pretty much any environment. Put it in a work environment, it will still blend in. Let's put it that way. So that is really good. Now, apart from that, I can't think any of other pros on top of my head, but really the ones you're going to be looking at is the resolution and its price to performance ratio, and of course its overclocking abilities. One of it which makes it one of the best monitors I've ever come across, and one of the monitors that if it ever breaks down, I'll probably buy the exact same monitor again, from, you know, either the same seller or a different seller from Korea. It is so good that I can't quite stress how, you know, how much I recommend it. If you're looking for a 27-inch screen with 1440p, or even heck if you want to downclock it to 1080p, and you want to use a high FPS at, you know, up to 120 Hertz, then this monitor is the go-to monitor that you should have on your top 5 list of monitors to buy. For me, it is the best monitor I've come across and the best monitor I've set my eyes on. Its overall package is excellent, and I can't stress that enough. Anyway guys, I know it's been slightly long again, but this time I thought I should run through everything, and I have done in my, at least as far as I'm aware, and I'm very happy with this monitor, and I really, again, recommend it. If you guys can buy it and can afford it and want to run a little bit of a risk with a warranty and things like that, definitely go and buy this without a shadow of a doubt. An excellent and beautiful monitor. Alright guys, this has been the Qnix QX2710, and I have been Totally Dubbed reviewing this monitor. Take care guys, bye bye.